Good afternoon, and welcome to the 67th Jane Addams Children's Book Award ceremony. I am Tura Campanella Cook, President of the Jane Addams Peace Association Board. Welcome to our honored guests, their friends, family, and publishers. Welcome to students from Mary White Ovington Middle School and their librarian, Alla Umanskaya. Welcome to Dick and Joan Dunham, Anne and Craig Ewart, representatives of the Hastings Peace and Justice Fund, who sponsor the award and this ceremony. Welcome to readers everywhere. The catastrophe of 2 world wars figured in the creation of both the Women's International League for Peace and Freedom and the Jane Addams Peace Association. Can you hear me?
I don't think the mic is on. You have to be closer to the mic. I don't think they're on.
Okay. All right, here we are. So, pardon? Start us over. Good afternoon and welcome to the 67th Jane Addams Children's Book Awards ceremony. I am Tura, President of the Jane Addams Peace Association. Welcome to all of our honored guests, their family, friends, and publishers. Welcome to all the students who were able to come from Mary White Ovington Middle School and their wonderful librarian, Alla Umanskaya. And welcome to the representatives of the Hastings Peace and Justice Fund who sponsor the award and this ceremony, and they are Dick and Joan Dunham, Anne and Craig Ewart. Thank you very much. Welcome to readers everywhere. The catastrophe of 2 world wars figured in the creation of the Women's International League for Peace and Freedom and the Jane Addams Peace Association. In April 1915, while World War I raged in Europe, over 1,000 women from warring and neutral nations gathered in The Hague to discuss how to end war and bring about a permanent peace. The meeting concluded with the formation of the Women's International League for Peace and Freedom, which today has sections in 47 nations. In 1948, following World War II, the U.S. section of the Women's International League established the Jane Addams Peace Association. Today, the Jane Addams Peace Association creates and supports programs and resources to deepen understanding of peace, social justice, global community, and equity for all people through reflection, dialogue, and social action for children and their adults. We've always believed strongly that peace education is a factor in preventing war. Early projects included children's art for world friendship, an exchange of original art between children in the United States and the Soviet Union from 1951 to 1968. The Jane Addams Children's Book Award was established in 1953 to recognize excellent children's literature that promotes peace and social justice. The Jane Addams Peace Association perpetuates the spirit of activist and pacifist Jane Addams. Her love for children and humanity, her commitment to freedom and democracy, and her devotion to the cause of world peace. In 1889, Jane Addams and Ellen Starr co-founded Hull House in Chicago, one of the first settlement houses in the U.S., to alleviate conditions of poverty and support new immigrants. Hull House provided recreational activities for children, child care for working families, and meeting space for clubs and labor unions. Adams was a white leader who supported and allied herself with the founders of the NAACP, National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, established in 1909. She was the first president of the Women's International League for Peace and Freedom. Jane Addams received the Nobel Peace Prize in 1931. The authors and illustrators we honor today perpetuate the life work of Jane Addams and inspire young people to follow in this path. I am pleased to present Susan Griffith, former member and chair of the Jane Addams Book Award Selection Committee, author of A History on the Jane Addams Award, and member of the Jane Addams Peace Association Board. Thank you, Susan.
Thank you, Tora. I am proud and pleased to share this Jane Addams Children's Book Award ceremony with all of you. With you, the authors, illustrators, activists, editors, publishers, teachers, librarians, and young people here today. When I look across the room, I see us surrounded and bolstered by the energy and commitment of others like us, those who worked and worked and worked and worked through decades to bring Jane Addams' vision of peace to young people through stories. I am thinking of those who created and supported the award. Marta Thiel, a Women's International League for Peace and Freedom member who conceived of the award in the aftermath of World War II. Ruth Chalmers and Linda Bell, former executive directors of the Jane Addams Peace Association, who together logged 50 years working from a small office in this very building. And Peg Dunham, who inspires the support of the Hastings Fund for Peace and Justice. I am thinking of those who provided leadership for the award: Charlamagne Rollins, Sarita Davis, Marjorie Miller, Bertha Jenkinson, Jean Gore, Annette Blank, Ginny Moore Cruz, and Ann Carpenter, and 4 leaders who are with us here today. I think Donna Barkman? No, Donna isn't here, so she's with us in spirit. Pat Weiser. Pat, where are you? Right there in front of me. Mary Ann Baker, who's over there, and chair of the 2019 committee, Heather Palmer. Heather served as committee chair for the past 3 years and as a member of the committee for 3 years before that. Today, we recognize her for her work that has been essential to giving the Addams Award annually for 6 years, and for her wholehearted, insightful participation in crafting the 2016 revision of the award's criteria and guidelines. Heather, please step forward and accept our recognition and this gift of appreciation for your work. The work of all these women and many other women, men, and children brings us to this moment. Drawing strength from our history, JAPA announces 2 changes to bring our vision even closer to the values that are the legacy of Jane Addams. First, a change in structure and process for the Addams Award itself, and second, a change in content and format of our newsletter. For more information, see the insert in your program and catch up with a board member during the reception. Board members who are here, raise your hands or stand so people can see you. Well, we all have name tags on that say board member, so you can channel us, not channel us. I don't know. Corral us. Corral, don't channel me. We are always happy to talk about the award, Jane Addams, social justice, and children's books. And now, I invite you to relax in this space of shared commitment and join me in savoring and applauding the work of our honored guests.
Good afternoon. I'm actually not relaxing yet. I feel very nervous up here, especially since I'm right by our honored guests. So just before I launch into talking about the book, I also wanted to reiterate Susan's remarks about the hard work that Heather has done over the years and the leadership on the committee. And also other members of the committee. We've really enjoyed reading these books and enjoyed, I think I said to Jacqueline Woodson, in a painful way at times too. So just what a good book can do, really, take you all around the world and all sorts of emotions. So the book I'm introducing to you today is The Day War Came. The Day War Came by Nicola Davies, illustrated by Rebecca Cobb, and published by Candlewick, is an honor book within our younger children category. Inspired by real events, the story begins with what many readers will find ordinary: a family around a breakfast table and a school day with lessons about volcanoes and tadpoles, until just after lunch, war came. The simple yet deeply affecting text, together with haunting childlike pencil and watercolor illustrations, powerfully communicates the plight of an anonymous child, refugee, displaced by war. In the frantic aftermath that has turned her home, school, and life into rubble and ash, the young girl is pictured on her knees uttering, "I can't say the words that tell you about the blackened hole that has been my home." Losing her family, she flees with others on an overloaded, leaky boat. Yearning for sanctuary, they reach land at last, disembark, and wade through the surf. Nearing the shore, our child protagonist observes two tiny red shoes drifting apart and empty, embodying tragic loss of life. Alone in a land she doesn't know, she searches for help, but the world turns away. Finally reaching a school where the girl hopes to find safety, a grim-faced teacher says there's no room, no chair for her, and sends her away. But later a compassionate boy searches for her and brings her a chair so she can attend class and perhaps find belonging and a glimmer of hope. The understated, poignant portrayal of the refugee crisis presents young people breaking cycles of fear in creative, nonviolent ways. This picture book will undoubtedly catalyze conversations about empathy, inclusivity, justice, and peace. We must find those extra chairs and push back war at every step. The Jane Addams Children Book Awards Committee is delighted to commend The Day War Came as an honor book in our younger children category. Sadly, Nicola Davies, who resides in Wales, and Rebecca Cobb, who lives in London, could not join us today. But they were able to collaborate on an acceptance speech, and we're thrilled that Susan Van Meter from Candlewick is here to read their remarks and to receive the honor on their behalf. Thank you, Susan, for helping us celebrate Nicola Davies and Rebecca Cobb's monumental achievement.
Nicola and Rebecca were very, very sorry not to be here today, but they sent me to share these words. We are delighted that our book, The Day War Came, has been recognized by the Jane Addams Award, and we're sorry we can't be with you in person. Every picture book is a collaboration, not only between artist and writer. It takes a team to create a good book, including editors and art directors, and a publisher with vision. So this award isn't just for Rebecca and me. It is for our editor, Kaz Royds, for our art director, Beth Aves, for the wonderful Walker Books in the UK and Candlewick in the US, who understood that it is possible to talk about war in a book for young children. Picture books are a wonderful art form because they can speak across boundaries of age, gender, and nationality. They can carry the biggest and most profound messages right into the heart of the reader and make them accessible to very young children. We cannot hide the ugliness of the world from our children, nor should be, but we can help them to try and understand it and offer them some tools with which to oppose it. The world needs more empathy and kindness, and children's literature has an important role to play in helping children to develop those attributes and showing how to use them in the world. We are very proud that the simple welcome offered by the children in The Day War Came is an act that seems to touch many hearts. In the UK, copies of the book were given to members of Parliament to remind them of the plight of unaccompanied child refugees. And I just want to pause and add my own comment. In working on this book, I realized that when we talk about refugees, we are mostly talking about children. And we have held 2 book launches that helped to raise funds for refugee charities like Help Refugees, and the number of non-English language editions is growing. Next year, there will be theater productions of the story in London. We hope that the words and the pictures we have created will go on spreading their message and encourage readers, both young and old, to stand for a moment in another's shoes, to sit for a moment in another's chair. For now, we send our best wishes and deep thanks from our respective studies, from mine in the hills of Wales, and from Rebecca's in sea-swept Cornwall. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon. I'm Andrea Maxworthy O'Brien, and I'm here to honor Julian is a Mermaid, written and illustrated by Jessica Love and published by Candlewick, as a Jane Addams honor book in the Books for Younger Readers category. Every child longs to be seen and loved for who they truly are, like Julian, who notices 3 beautiful mermaids with long flowing tails on the way home from the swimming pool with his abuela, and is so transfixed by them that he imagines himself a mermaid, swimming in the swirl of varied sea creatures. The illustrations are rendered in soft, flowing watercolors, gouache, and ink that invite the reader to join in the playful whimsy of water and imagination. It is the artwork that sets the book apart. The muted, colorful palette, fluid, liquid, changing like water, communicating the fantasy and the reality of the storyline. In the detailed depiction of the characters of Abuela, the women in the swimming pool, the people in the street, and the mermaids, individuality and variation are respected. The delightfully enticing illustrations and simple text are just right for a preschool audience. And what better age could there be for children to learn that you will be accepted for just who you are? When Julian returns home, he announces to his abuela that he is also a mermaid, and after she has left the room, proceeds to transform himself with a potted plant, a bouquet of flowers, and some curtains. As his grandmother emerges from her bath to find Julian dressed in his imagination, there is a pause. A moment where we wait, worried and doubtful with Julian, while he hopes for acceptance for all that he has revealed himself to be. In that moment, we are reminded that acceptance is a choice that we can all make, and like Julian's abuela, we can accept and respect others for who they are, for their differences. In recognition of a book that celebrates the playful imagination of children and encourages acceptance for the whole spectrum of who we can be and who we can love, in gentle words and pictures that can be understood by the youngest child. It is my pleasure to present the Jane Addams Children's Honor Book Award for Younger Readers to Jessica Love.
Thank you. I'm too tall for this. Hi. Hello, young people. Cutting class. Thank you so much. This came unplugged. There we go. All right. I'm going to start over. Thank you so much. I'm so honored to be with you all today. I owe a profound debt of gratitude, first to my publishers at Candlewick Press, who took a chance on this book after everybody else passed on it, my tireless editor, Katie Cunningham, my art director, Ann Stott, and my agent, Meredith Kaffel-Simonoff. I also want to thank everybody who helped share this book, librarians, teachers, parents, every literary drag queen who has helped move it into the larger sphere. Without your help, it would have surely not traveled so far, so thank you. There has been an enormous shift in our cultural awareness since I first started working on this book in 2012. We have queer and trans folks in mainstream popular culture in numbers we have never seen before, and that is so great. But, as ever in this country, the rate of change varies depending on the color of your skin and the amount of money you have. So, here's the real talk part. This year, so far, there have been 18 murders of trans people. One of them was a black trans man who died in a mass shooting, and 17 were black trans women. Those are the facts. So white people, straight people, we must recognize this as our fight. These are our brothers and sisters too, and it cannot be incumbent on the most vulnerable population in this country to fight this fight alone. If things don't change, it's on us, period. So I want to thank you all for being here today, and thank you so much for this tremendous honor. And let us honor the memories of those who died for no reason by making this world safer for the next generation of beautiful mermaids. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me? Okay. My name is Janice Mateo Toledo, and I'm here to present the award to Vera Hiranandani. The Night Diary, written by Vera Hiranandani and published by Penguin Random House, is a Jane Addams honor book in the Books for Older Children category. The year is 1947, just a month before the end of British rule in India and the partition, the division of British India along religious lines into the two separate and independent countries of Pakistan, which will be Muslim, and a new India, which will be Hindu. Vera Hiranandani introduces us to Nisha, a quiet, introverted 12-year-old girl who receives a diary on her birthday and decides to write to the mother she has never known. Nisha's mother was Muslim, her father is Hindu, and although the family is mixed and secular, they are still considered to be Hindu. Unfortunately, Nisha lives in a town that is to become part of Pakistan, so her family is forced to leave the only home they have known to live in a new India. Through Nisha's personal entries, the reader witnesses the shocking changes in her world as the day of partition draws near. Nisha reveals, "We are not supposed to be here, and I don't know what would happen if someone found out. Both Emil and I have heard Papa and Daddy talk about what they've read in the papers. I know lots of people have died walking and on the trains in both directions. The riots and killings keep happening. I still don't understand. We were all part of the same country last month, all these different people and religions living together. Now we're supposed to separate and hate one another. Does Papa secretly hate Rashid Uncle? Does Rashid Uncle secretly hate us? Where do Emil and I fit into all of this hate? Can you hate half a person? Vera Hiranandani expertly weaves a compelling story of the human toll of bigotry and hate through the eyes of a child. When lines are drawn and an us versus them mentality takes over, religious violence erupts between communities of once peaceful family and neighbors. Given the state of our country today, Vera's book is timely and creates a space for adults to learn and children to learn from the mistakes of the past. For creating a novel that reminds us about the importance of love, family, friendship, kindness, and acceptance, I present the Jane Addams Honor Children's Book Award in the Books for Older Children category to Vera Hiranandani.
Is this one, right? Okay. Thank you, Janice. I also want to thank the Jane Addams Peace Association and members of the 2019 Children's Book Award Committee for recognizing my work in this way. My amazing editor and publisher of Kokila Books, Namrata Tripathi, and everyone at Penguin Young Readers who champion this book, continue to champion this book, and my wonderful agent, Sarah Crow at Pippin Properties. And also congratulations to my fellow author and illustrator honorees. I'm honored to be up here with you. So I thought I'd tell you a bit about who I am. And so I'm going to start with this quote, not from my book. I love the way the main character, Salim Sinai, answers this question for himself in Salman Rushdie's Midnight's Children. He says, "I am the sum total of everything that went before me, of all I have been seen done, of everything done to me. I am everyone, everything whose being in the world was affected by mine. I am anything that happens after I've gone, which would not have happened if I had not come. Nor am I particularly exceptional in this matter. Each I contains a similar multitude." I connected to this book for obvious reasons as it centers around the partition of India. But have you ever come across a passage of writing where suddenly, for a split second, you feel like the universe has pulled back its curtain and you can see everything, just for a moment? This passage does that for me, and I understand it more than ever after using my own family history as the basis for the Night Diary. The Night Diary is inspired by my father's journey when he had to leave his home as a child and become a refugee with his parents, brothers, and sisters in 1947 during the partition. Growing up, I would hear my father, my aunts, and uncles talk about it. I actually remembered being young and thinking it was something that only happened to my father's family, mainly because I didn't learn about it in school and no one else around me seemed to know about it. I had a very different childhood. I am the daughter of a father who emigrated from India to the US in the 1960s and a mother who grew up Jewish in Brooklyn. My parents met in Poughkeepsie and decided to marry against their family's wishes and raise me and my sister in Fairfield County, Connecticut. So I have many different influences and parts of myself. I wanted to write the Night Diary for those who didn't know anything about this history because I think there's so much we can learn from it. But mostly, I wanted to write this book for young people who have a family connection, to see their family history in a book. I wanted to explore some of the questions I had about this time. Why did religiously diverse communities who lived peacefully one day turn against each other so quickly? And what my connection to this history means to me and for me and for all of us in our current world, which has many problems of its own, and some as a direct result of the partition. I also decided to create a main character, Nisha, who has a Muslim mother and a Hindu father. And as her country is being split apart, she wonders where she belongs and how she stays connected to both her Hindu and Muslim identities as these groups turn against each other. I have wrestled with my own identity questions. There were many times where I felt confused, lonely, and an outsider because I was the only half-Indian Jewish Hindu kid in my small Connecticut town for miles and miles. I was always searching for books to help me figure out my world. I was always searching for a book to show me that the I, the very specific I, existed, and that it was okay to be me, that it was normal to be me. The fact that I couldn't find books to read with kids with backgrounds similar to mine or characters with family histories similar to mine led me to absorb a message that I wasn't as important, that I wasn't as valid as the kids I saw in the books I read. So now I fill my books with people who have immigrated to this country, with people who have mixed backgrounds, with people who experience prejudice because of their religion or their race, with people who have more identities than they can sometimes hold at once, and that it's normal, it's important, it exists. You, young reader, exist. I think that if all people feel seen and valued, we have a better chance at a more open-minded and therefore peaceful society. I also think if more readers understand our global history, how in the past, when we've divided ourselves along religious lines, racial lines, or any turning away or against what we perceive as the other, the result is never good. That also lays the groundwork for more acceptance and less hate. As I say in my author's note at the end of the night diary, remembering the mistakes of the past will hopefully create a more enlightened, tolerant, and peaceful future. And I'm so grateful to be able to share this story with you and to have the book honored in the spirit of Jane Addams' legacy and in the name of peace and justice. Thank you so much.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Beth McGowan, and I've been on this committee for a few years, and this is my last year. And I can't tell you, I think it's the greatest honor of my life to have done this. Oh, sorry. Okay, didn't mean to do that. All right. All right. This year, we name We Rise, We Resist, We Raise Our Voices, edited by Wayne Hudson and Cheryl Willis Hudson, and published by Crown Books for young readers as one of the Jane Addams Awards honor books in the category for older children. The Jane Addams Children's Book Awards looks for books that address how people, especially young people, break cycles of fear. Editors Wade Hudson and Cheryl Willis Hudson address that criteria directly and explicitly when discussing their inspiration for this work. The inspiration was their niece, then 7-year-old Jordan, who was frightened by the results of the 2016 presidential election. Because the Hudsons knew and know that her fear was shared by many young people and by many not so young people, many of them in this room, they created this book. The editors assembled a group of roughly 50 artists, both writers and illustrators, to explicitly address how to find courage when times are dark and to provide comfort for young people. Each individual artist suggests that the history of individuals and of the world is often the history of dark times. As Kelly Starling Lyons, in her poem, Drumbeat for Change, says, "The world feels upside down sometimes, like a twisted house of mirrors, where people in charge are bullies, where protesters of racism are pummeled, where being who you are can put your life on the line. What do we do with the worry, the hurt, the rage? We turn it into something bigger than us. We turn it into change." The key to access our light and our ability to change the world, as Denise Lewis Patrick says in her prose piece, "You Are Here," is to know and use the stories of the past as our maps. Many people have made this journey on earth before you. We who love you have traveled through life too. Our lives have created a map you can always follow. In short, the way forward is written in our collective past. As Rita Williams Garcia writes in We the People, "Know this, we as a people and as a nation have survived uncertainty, unjust and unequal treatment at the hands of the powerful. Our various histories and current day struggles are the stories of overcoming, with an eye on opportunity and freedom even during the worst times." So while we are now in the middle of what feels like the worst times again, we must resist the pull of the present. We must remember as a culture that we have been in the muck before. We must provide comfort for our young people, as many of the illustrators, we must provide comfort for our young people as we remember this truth, as many of the illustrators so poignantly do in the work. For example, Floyd Cooper's illustration that accompanied Wade Hudson's What Shall We Tell You gives such a sense of love and care of a grandmother for a grandson when she feels the world spinning out of control, cupping her grandchild's face in her hand. Or in the depiction of a father and his daughter created by Equa Holmes, just one moment, you have to see this, that accompanies 1,000 Winters, about a daughter who is afraid her daddy will be arrested if he drives too fast. And while we generally focus much on the present and the immediate future, this book restores to us and to the young our ancestors as sources of strength and power, and not insignificantly of this same love. This restoration provides our young people with the knowledge that they too can do hard things because they have inherited the strength of giants. As Jabari Asim in the poem You Can Do It says, "Your ancestors came across the waters and made life in this new land. Mighty sons and daughters, the future is in your hands." Or as the illustration by Laura Freeman that accompanies Zetta Elliott's poem, You Too Can Fly, reminds our children that power lies within us, that we can fly. This book reminds us that the strength and courage, love and faith of our parents, our grandparents, and our other ancestors lives within us because it makes this truth explicit. We name, we rise, we resist, we raise our voices a 2019 Jane Addams Children's Book Award honor book, and present this award to editors Wade Hudson and Cheryl Willis Hudson. Thank you for this book. We need it.
Wow. Best book review ever. Thank you so much. Wade and I are part of Just Us Books, a company that we started over 30 years ago to speak to our children who are now adults and are with us here today. And we are delighted to accept this honor award from the Jane Addams Peace Association on behalf of Just Us Books, and also on behalf of the 50 other contributors to this work. It is a collective effort. We rise, we resisted, and we raised our voices. Beth has done such a wonderful job of giving you an introduction to the pieces in the book. And we think that they are really important in this time because we wanted to give back to our children and to all children and readers a sense of hope, of love, and encouragement in all of our work. And that's why we called on our friends, some of who are here today, Jackie and Raphael, who also contributed to this work. So thank you on behalf of Just Us Books and Marimba Books and the 50 contributors to this work.
We also want to recognize Phoebe Ye, who actually acquired this project. And Phoebe, can you stand? Yeah. And the Crown Book family. I'm going to read my poem, What Shall I Tell You? Because I think it really captures what this book is all about. And it was the first piece that was written for the collection. What shall we tell you? What shall we tell you when our world sometimes seems dark and uninviting? What shall we tell you when hateful words that would wound and bully are thrown like bricks against a wall, shattering into debris? What shall we tell you when respect for others and treating others as we wish to be treated appear as yesterday's borrowed wish? What shall we tell you when our differences are juggled like fragile eggs that could be smashed at a moment's impulse? What shall we tell you? What shall we tell you? We shall tell you that love, like cream and milk, will rise to the top, and hatred and distrust will be revealed as impostors. We shall tell you that peace, desirable like a restful night after a long day at play, is not far away. Reach for it. We shall tell you that respect for others, like a delicious ice cream bar dripping on holding fingers, tastes better than contempt. We shall tell you that we love you, all of you. And because we love you, we will be there to help bring light to dark places. We will be there with peace and justice as our weapons, and love as a soothing salve to comfort and embrace. We shall tell you that because we will always be there for you, always be there for you, it will be all right. It will be all right. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Tracy Randolph, a member of the committee, and that's hard to follow. I'm here to present the award to Ghost Boys, written by Jewel Parker Rhodes, published by Little Brown Books for Young Readers, as the winner in our Books for Older Readers. Ghost Boys by Jewel Parker Rhodes is a haunting tale with an all too familiar tragedy at its core: the fatal shooting of an African American youth by a white police officer who mistook the boy's toy gun for a real one. The story opens with Jerome observing his slain body lying face down on the pavement in an abandoned lot in a puddle of his own blood and noticing that it's quickly staining his new sneakers. This only moments after the officer fired the 2 fatal shots. Soon, Jerome describes the wails of his mother as she is held back by police while sirens scream in the background. Rhodes allows 12-year-old Jerome to tell his own story, alternating between his points of view: when he is dead, watching his family grieve, and when he is alive, describing his life and the events that led up to his death. As Jerome agonizes while watching his family mourn, so do we. As he describes his loving family and the events that led to his final moments, we learn of his hopes and dreams. Rhodes' effective use of this narrative device gives readers unique insight by weaving in magical realism. Jerome's spirit interacts with the ghosts of other African American youth who died at the hands of white adults and at much too young an age. In particular, Jerome meets Emmett Till. Through Till and the other Ghost Boys, Rhodes connects injustices of the past with those of today. Even more startling, Jerome soon finds himself visible to Sarah, the daughter of the white officer who killed him. He and Sarah converse, and Jerome is able to observe her pointed conversations with her father. Sarah stands out as a strong symbol of our society's responsibility to take action against these injustices. As Jerome's interactions with Till and the other Ghost Boys increase, he learns Emmett Till's story in full. He also realizes why, through whatever force, he is able to communicate with Sarah, and the Ghost Boys. And that purpose is to bear witness, Emmett Till tells him. Everyone needs their story heard. Ghost Boys poignantly addresses the Jane Addams Children's Book Award criteria, specifically how young people can work together to break cycles of fear, to address problems and oppression caused by prejudice, violence, social injustice, and racism, and build respect and understanding for differences. We are pleased to present the Jane Addams Children's Book Award for Older Readers to Jewel Parker Rhodes, and accepting the award for Miss Rhodes, who couldn't be here today, is a representative from Little Brown, Alvina Ling.
I am so happy to be here today with all of you, and very sad that Jewel Parker Rhodes could not be here. Those of you who know Jewel know that she is full of such wonderful spirit and joy, so I will try to channel some of that spirit as I read the remarks that she sent me. I've had the great honor and pleasure of attending the Jane Addams Children's Literature Ceremony twice before, so I know that I am missing a spectacular and soul-inspiring event. Only family illness prevents me from being with all of you. Beyond measure, I am thrilled that Ghost Boys was selected as the winning book for older children. I always try to write books that speak to the values of the Jane Addams Award: social justice, equity, peace, and global community. Ghost Boys, in particular, is dear to my heart and took every ounce of courage to write. I didn't want to write the book. My brilliant editor, Alvina Ling, asked me to. I should have edited this before I read. Of course, I said no. Who would want to write about the murder of Black boys? Yet Alvina's request made me dig deep and realize that bearing witness is never easy, but nonetheless, my responsibility as a person and as an artist. The Jane Addams Award will encourage more youth to read the book. For that, I will be forever grateful. Many youth have already begun, like Emmett and Jerome, like Carlos and Sarah, to bear witness against social injustice with their own art, poetry, and stories. I'm glad that Ghost Boys reminds them of their own power to be the change. With prayers and fingers crossed, today's youth may put an end to young people being victimized because of the color of their skin. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Melissa Garcia, and I have the great honor of presenting our Younger Children Award, the last of this afternoon. The Day You Begin, the winner in the books for the Younger Children category, is written by Jacqueline Whitson, illustrated by Rafael Lopez, and published by Nancy Paulson Books, an imprint of Penguin Young Readers. We open this picture book just as a cautious young brown girl opens a measured door and the story begins. There will be times when. Through this key phrase, Miss Woodson's language frames hurt scenarios paired with Mr. Lopez's loving illustrations. Both capture how loneliness quietly lives in young people. Until the day you begin. In a hushed tone, listeners are each led to think of your own brave self. Woodson and Lopez poetically conjure the core of resilience, steady as steel and ready. The Day You Begin celebrates connection in obvious as well as nuanced moments. Being different reflects perspective and may have no solace until small, storied steps are shared and voices grow strong. Jacqueline Woodson's words encapsulate unmeasurable moments alongside Rafael Lopez's illustrations that invite and celebrate growth. Together, these two artists gather readers and leave a lasting impression of how friendships and connection are possible when we are ready and able to share. For enfolding us all, young and old, through private moments of solitude towards anticipated growth, when the world opens itself up a little wider to make space for you. It is with great pleasure that we present the Jane Addams Children's Book Award in the Books for Younger Children category to author Jacqueline Woodson and illustrator Rafael Lopez.
Thanks so much. It's such an honor to be here with Rafael and his family and my fabulous editor, Nancy Paulson. I want to thank the committee for choosing The Day You Begin. And I want to thank Rafael for bringing such an amazing life to the book. I think that what happens with a great picture book is you can look at the pictures alone and get the story without reading the words, and you can read the words and get a sense of the story, and then the two come together and make something amazing. So I wanted to read the poem that inspired The Day You Begin, and it's from Brown Girl Dreaming. It'll be scary sometimes. My great-great-grandfather on my father's side was born free in Ohio, 1832. Built his house and farmed his land, then dug for coal when the farming wasn't enough. Fought hard in the Civil War. His name in stone now on the Civil War Memorial. William J. Woodson, United States Colored Troops, Union Company B, 5th Regiment. a long time dead but living still among the other soldiers on that monument in Washington, D.C. His son was sent to Nelsonville, lived with an aunt. William Woodson, the only brown boy in an all-white school. You'll find this in your life someday, my mother will tell us over and over again. A moment when you walk into a room and no one there is like you. It'll be scary sometimes, but think of William Woodson and you'll be all right. So when I started writing The Day You Begin, it was inspired by that poem. And it was inspired by the many, many, many rooms I've walked into where it felt like I was alone, or I was integrating that room, or I was doing something to change it. And it was never an easy journey, but it was never a journey I ever regretted. And so when I started writing the book, I wanted to talk about the many ways so many of us have to do that every single day of our lives. And sometimes walk into that room to speak truth to power, sometimes walk into that room to just change the narrative for the people coming behind us. And so I'm so deeply grateful to the Jane Addams Peace Award Committee, and that this award exists, because I feel like I walk through the world with it. I walk through the world trying to change it and trying to create the social justice that we should all be able to walk through the world with. And I have one other thing to say, which is that I walked through the world and walked into these rooms because William Woodson did it, and because people before him did it, and because people will continue to do it. And those people have made it easier for me to do it. And my hope is that I make it easier for y'all to do it. Thank you.
Beautiful words. This is one of those few times where I walk into a room and I don't feel different. Hello, family, friends, dear friends. Very honored to be with all of you guys here, recognized by your amazing work that inspires me. Had I known that Jackie was going to be here present, I would have pretended that I was also sick with sore throat, but I like to torture myself and be the last one here. So it's a message of hope, especially for the kids, the young minds that are here, the students, and I would like to find my glasses. And remind ourselves sometimes that sometimes a sad moment like the passing of a civil rights champion like Elijah Cummings remind us all that we need to find common ground. Common ground is usually forgotten very easily, and many of our generations have forgotten how to do that, how to find that common ground. Just like the champion Jane Addams did, as she struggled to shine the light on the oppressed and the unfairness that existed back then. So her legacy continues on, though. So it's about shining the light, you guys. We have to find those similarities, not our differences, but focus on the similarities we all have. I came from Mexico. When I came from Mexico, I didn't speak English. I spoke a different language. I ate a different food. I have different religions and beliefs. And I came to this country, this beautiful country, feeling like a total outsider. A room where I felt totally different. It was those travels and the opportunity for me to be able to travel that allowed me to meet people that look different, that talk different, that ate different things, and start to find those commonalities that we had between us, all those things that made us wonderfully different and at the same time so similar to each other. But there are people that don't have that opportunity to travel. I had that opportunity, and many of us have, but many people don't. So you know what gives them that opportunity? Books give them that opportunity. Mm-hmm. Getting a book in their hands and opening those books and seeing that message that some people could be so different and yet beautifully similar to you guys. So you need to dare to engage. You need to stop feeling afraid of feeling different and ask that first question. Ask the questions. Who are you? Where you come from? What do you believe in? And it's that engagement that is going to establish a conversation, and it's going to be that conversation that is going to find us that common ground that it's so sorely forgotten so many times. I just want to thank the committee for recognizing the book. Thank you so much. I want to also thank the amazing and genius of my editor, right here, Nancy Paulson, for putting the two of us together. I want to also thank my agent, Adriana Dominguez, sitting in the back. My family, my son is one of the inspirations for one of the characters of the book as well. Thank you, Santi. And of course, I want to thank Jackie for weaving these beautiful words together that made it so easy to illustrate this book. A book about differences, the beautiful differences that couldn't find that common hope. And let's remind ourselves that behind us, there's this beautiful monolith that reminds us that there's easy ways to find common ground in our differences. And by finding that common ground and that commonality and acceptance, we can finally find everlasting peace. You're the ones that are going to take care of this, guys. Thank you again.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dieter Price-Dennis, and I'm the Vice President of the Jane Addams Peace Association. So wonderful to see so many people out here today. Thank you all so much for coming. Make sure you can hear me. I always sound louder in my head than I think I do in person. Today's ceremony and the heartfelt remarks that were made right here at this podium make me so internally grateful for this moment and for the opportunity to be here with all of you, particularly when what you all shared stands in such direct contrast with the discourse that's happening in our society right now. So I thank you for your words and the inspiration that you leave all of us with. On behalf of the association, I'd like to thank the authors, illustrators, and editors and publishers for bringing these stories to life and giving us an opportunity to see ourselves, our hopes, and our possibilities in the pages of your books. I thank the Hastings Fund for their generous support of this ceremony to honor the legacy of Peg Dunham and Jane Addams. I thank the 2019 committee for your work. And I thank all of the children, teachers, librarians, and activists gathered here today who are committed to seeking peace and pursuing social justice as a means to ensure equity for all people. Thank you all for attending this ceremony, and we look forward to celebrating with you again in October of 2021. In the meantime, please join us for refreshments, book signings, selfies, and good conversation. Thank you.
Hello, beautiful people. Thank you so much. Hi, Lisa. It's great to see you. I have a friend whose baby will be born in the next day or two. Oh. And her mother is English and her father is Spanish. So this is for Isabella.